Greetings. We're considering helping others over the obstacles of running the Christian race. Our text is from Galatians 6, and we were speaking yesterday about the definition of who spiritual ones were. Those who are spiritual in the present moment are those who, having learned to bear their own burdens, as verses 4 and 5 speak about, they now have proper perspective about themselves, and that's in verse 3. See, those who are spiritual in this present moment are those who have a desire to help others over the obstacles, not because they think themselves are better, but because they have learned by experience the procedure and method for overcoming obstacles. 2 Corinthians chapter 1 verse 4 speaks of God who comforts us in all our tribulation, in every trial, that we may be able to comfort them which are in any trouble or trial, by the comfort wherewith we ourselves are comforted of God. Now, back to Galatians 6:2, it says, "Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ." Those who are spiritual in the present moment are those who help others with meekness, considering themselves because they know what it's like to be subjected to like passions. Verse 1. Those who are spiritual in the present moment are saved and in the race, having learned to allow their faith to stand in the power of God, to walk in the Spirit, and to run the race with patient endurance. Those who are spiritual in the present moment are not hindered by besetting sin, tripped up by some obstacle, overtaken in some fault. The one who has the Pharisaical attitude, "It will never happen to me," is certainly not a spiritual one. Because verse 3 says, "For if a man thinketh himself to be something, when he is nothing, he deceiveth himself." Romans 12:3 says, "For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly," that is, sober-mindedly, "according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith." 1 Corinthians 10:12 says, "Wherefore let him that thinketh he standeth take heed lest he fall." Hey, so someone said one time, humility is such an elusive commodity that the moment you think you have gained it, you have lost it. And that might pertain to spirituality. The very moment we think, "Oh, I'm a spiritual one," maybe we're ready for the fall. 1 Corinthians 13:10, which follows that verse, should be considered in this immediate context. "There hath no temptation to think too highly of oneself taken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that ye are able, but will with the temptation also provide the way to escape, that you may be able to bear it." If I escape the temptation, it's not because of who I am, but it's because I have recognized my need and gone boldly to the throne of grace to get grace to help just in the nick of time, allowing me to avoid the trap, to overcome the obstacle. Colossians 2:19 says it this way, "And not holding the head, from which all the body by joints and bands having nourishment, ministered and knit together, increases with the increase of God."